Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all age, welcome to your favorite White Sox podcast, White Sox and BS, where we BS you with all things baseball, and yes, a little bit of White Sox sprinkled in there. Listen, I'm in the car today. I'm busy. I got stuff to do, so deal with it. But today's a special episode. Why? Because it's our trade deadline episode. We're going to talk real quick as fast as we can about White Sox trade rumors. Let's go, Skubal. I want Skubal with the best or the second best pitcher in baseball. He might be the best. It's Skubal or Skeens. We're getting one of them. Detroit and Pittsburgh need to be our farm systems. Anyway, it's me, your favorite host, Harry, and your favorite co-host, JJ3. JJ3, introduce yourself.
What's good? It's your boy JJ3 right here. I'm going to try to match my man Harry's energy right now because he charged up for this trade deadline show. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss what we think should happen, what we want to happen, what we don't think is going to go down with the White Sox on the South Side. So go ahead and kick it off.
All right. Is it going to be a racial draft? We, the black delegate. I'm sorry. You're talking about trade. I'm talking about trade deadline. All right. Before we begin the talk, trade deadline talks, let's talk about the current score. Currently, White Sox are in first place in the division. That's a great thing. The AL right now is in a mess. It is a dogfight. Everyone's barely winning, and everyone's going to inch into the playoffs. But we're down 4-1 versus New York, and it's the top of the 8th. I don't know why we can't beat New York. That is frustrating. New York is going to stay here the whole week because then they face the Cubs at Wrigley. So the Yankees aren't going anywhere. They are here chilling on our property in our faces, beating us like this. Why can we beat everyone but the Yankees? It's annoying. You want to add anything to this sweep we're about to, or is it this sweep we're about to have versus the Yankees against us, JJ3?
Well, it's a 4-game set at the rate, and like you mentioned, Yankees already won the first 2 games. They're winning right now currently. Just a bad matchup. It's a bad matchup for real. Like I've beat a dead horse at this point with the White Sox pitching staff, their starters, their entire rotation, even taking it further into the relief pitcher and the closers. The White Sox pitching staff does not match up well with especially the New York Yankees. And the Yankees aren't even at full strength.
No.
And they've still outplayed us through the majority of games that we played against them. I think it's the 6th game we played against the Yankees. And so far, we've lost all but 1. So, yeah, man, bad matchup. Thankfully, in an American League that is pretty, winnable, that is somewhat down this year. At least most people would say entirely down this year. The Sox are still at the top of their division. I mean, again, you lost 2 out of 3 and, you gained ground. So, look, man. That's why this is a trade deadline show, to discuss what could potentially be done to make the White Sox better, to potentially change the matchup with teams like the Yankees, especially if you're trying to make a push towards the playoffs. That's going to be a team that you may have to contend with. So, yeah, let's get into breaking down what you think the White Sox should potentially do at this trade deadline, which is, as I check my watch, rapidly approaching.
All right, good stuff. Now on to our favorite topic and our main topic, the trade deadline. Let's discuss the rumors. What is the biggest need right now as far as the lineup? Kyle Teal is injured, so everyone was assuming that we're going to go after Shea Langoliers, but he messed up his foot. So now the replacement is another Cincinnati player, Tyler Stevenson. I don't know if I want him. We still haven't even played Austin Hayes yet. So this whole trade with the Reds thing isn't working out for us with one player. Why do we need to trade with Reds again? Shea Langoliers and Luis Torrens from the New York Mets. I don't know if I want to trade with the Mets, but the Mets do draft really well. So, but to get Luis Torrens, apparently we're gonna have to give up Edgar Cuero to do that, and he has been kind of cold lately.
Give up Edgar Cuero right now. I'm good with that.
So, I mean, if we're going to bring in a bona fide starter, I'm there with that. We're just going to go with first I'm going to start with the catcher position. How do you feel about the catcher position as far as trade deadline?
Getting a catcher is very low on my list of priorities. I'm not even really thinking about it. It stinks to have Kyle Teal get injured once again. He's essentially going to be out for the entirety of the rest of this season. So that's bad for him. That's bad for the White Sox. It's incredibly unfortunate, but I'm not at the point where catcher is on my list of needs and list of priorities for this team. It's just not something that I'm thinking about. It's not on my radar. You have other guys. There's 8 other guys in your lineup whose responsibility is to hit the baseball and drive in and score runs for you. Your catcher can't do it. That's unfortunate. That stinks. You're going to have, a guy hitting less than 200 in your lineup at the catcher position. Again, unfortunate. That sucks. But Kyle Teal wasn't lighting it up for you when he came back in the lineup earlier this year. Nobody at your catcher position has lit it up all season long, and you're still in first place. So catcher is not high on my list of priorities. It's not something I'm going to focus on. This White Sox team needs pitching. I said it in spring training. I said it on opening day. I said it before the All-Star break. I've been sitting here from my pulpit preaching about pitching, and more pitching for the White Sox entire pitching staff all season long. I said the bats are going to do work. The offense is going to score runs for you, and we've seen that happen. We've seen this team go out there and put up double-digit runs. They're not doing it tonight, unfortunately. We've seen this team go out and produce a solid offense, a consistent offense that scores a lot of runs for you. I'm not concerned about my 9 hitter at the catcher position or, bottom 3rd position in the lineup. It's not a concern. We need starters, relievers. You might need a damn closer. So that's where the lion's share of your effort should be placed.
Okay. Good job on the catchers. Next one, speaking of pitchers, next position, as far as, I'm going to add one, as far as rumors of who we should be getting, there's rumors of Kevin Gosman and Shane Bieber, who just got traded to, both of them actually. Well, Kevin Gosman, he's the ace on the Toronto Blue Jays. Shane Bieber just got traded. He started off rough, and he's looked like the old Shane Bieber as of recent. But because they're not making postseasons, they might be looking to move him and just be like, you know what? I know we got Okamoto. I know we got Gosman. I know we got Bieber, but we can trade him and get some assets if we're going to have to pay all these guys and start over anyway. Detmers is another one from the Angels who had a nasty 14K game earlier this year, and he's been looking pretty darn solid so far. Then there's 2 guys that I know won't get traded to us because they're in our division, but I forget his name. Williams, starting pitcher on the Cleveland Guardians. That man has been a monster. His last 4 games are like 11 Ks, 11 Ks, 11 Ks, and yesterday they do a 12K game. I think, is it Garrett Williams? I forget his first name, but he has been, Gavin Williams, he has been a dog over there, and I can see them trading him if they don't make the playoffs. And my favorite, the top 2 pitcher, not named Paul Skeens, Tariq Skubal. He has been throwing some nasty stuff. Today was his worst game, and he threw like 7 Ks. When 7 Ks is your worst game, you are on fire. He was injured for a quarter of the season, so he's still kind of getting his bearings. But he has been a monster. He is the big dog that everyone's going for. Personally, I feel if you're going to trade for pitchers and you don't have a true ace, you trade for an ace. I personally don't want to keep trading for number 2 guys, number 3 guys, number 4 guys. But none of the names I've mentioned are number 3 guys except Detmer. But I do personally feel Gosman, Bieber, and Detmers are at best number 2 guys. I don't think they're number 1s on a winning team, especially Gosman. Shane Bieber can be a number 1 on a winning team, but how healthy is he? So you're taking a risk trading for just recovered from
not
a
2020 or 2021 anymore with Shane Bieber.
Right. And then of course Tariq Skubal is the how do you say in French, the creme de la creme of this pitcher crop that people are going for in the trade deadline. But if you trade for him, you're saying, hey, I'm going to pay you $400 million, or you're renting him for the weekend, like a Colombian prostitute. So, what are your thoughts as far as the starting pitchers?
Shout out to Colombia. Skubal is pie in the sky for sure, and there's no chance that they're going to trade him to the White Sox. That's not going to happen. There's no chance Cleveland's going to make any trades in terms of selling. Again, they're trailing us in the division standings. if anything, Cleveland is going to be buyers. They're going to be looking to add, looking to improve their offense, looking to bring in some bats so that they can chase us down in the division race for the division lead. So Cleveland's not selling anybody. Cleveland's going to be looking to add, if anything, especially if the White Sox add. You're going to see corresponding moves. If the White Sox look to improve and make additions, Cleveland's going to have to improve and make additions to match the White Sox to keep pace. So I don't expect anything like that to happen with the Guardians. Again, Skubal, like I said, pie in the sky. He's going to be, if he is indeed moved, he's going to be one of the top, if not the top name in the entire market that is moved. Don't be surprised you see a team like the Dodgers sniffing around, trying to add Skubal to their roster, see if they can improve their own team, especially with Shohei not pitching for the remainder of the season. So, again, pie in the sky for the White Sox to have any chance and any hopes at him. Now, Shane Bieber, again, you mentioned him on previous shows, you mentioned him again today, and you mentioned him right now in this conversation. And I just said it's not 2020. We're not living in the past. We're living right now today. Can Shane Bieber stay healthy?
January to March 2020 was a vibe. I was at the All-Star. I was getting these hoes. My God.
No, you was at the All-Star game. I seen you. You was at All-Star weekend. I ran into you. Now, facts. But back to the matter at hand. It's not 2020 anymore. You can't rely on Shane Bieber to go out there and be locked down 6-7 innings every single night, start after start after start. In saying that, Shane Bieber might not be a bad addition to add for any team, not necessarily for the White Sox, but for any team that is looking to add pitching when you have a weakness at pitching and on your pitching staff. So would it shock me if the White Sox were interested in Shane Bieber? Yes. Would I be upset if the White Sox acquired Shane Bieber? No, but I would have to see the return. I'd have to see what they gave up in exchange to get him. I think you did mention Reed Detmers. That's a name that is very, very popular. I think very popular on both sides of towns, not just on the south side, because again, it is important to add that depth. It is important to add, 2s and 3s. You need 2s and 3s in the playoffs. You do. Shane Bieber at this stage is a 2 and or a 3. Like that's really where he's at right now at this stage in his career. So it's important to have those guys. You're not going to be acquiring an ace at every single deadline. So if you can get a guy who's a, second in your rotation, third in the rotation, and add him in and move other guys back, every team is going to, step up to do that. Cool. Because this is the main question. First off, let's back up. I'm gonna back up a little. Baseball trade deadlines. You say all the time, baseball doesn't make sense to you from a trade standpoint.
Not a fucking lick.
So I want to give you the platform and the stage before we jump right back into the conversation of who, for what, and why. I want you to go ahead and get it off your chest as far as why it doesn't make sense to you. I know why it doesn't make sense to me necessarily, but why doesn't it make sense to you as far as baseball trades are concerned?
Why baseball trades are stupid? Because you can't trade player to player. It doesn't make any sense. I'm supposed to give you these prospects. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't even know if they're good for these all-stars. Nothing in baseball makes sense. The business of baseball doesn't make any sense. The contract doesn't make any sense. The Dodgers don't make any sense. There's no salary cap, but yet they're the only ones that can afford to pay everyone. They're going to get Skubal. They're probably going to get Detmers. They're probably going to get Biebers. They're going to get everybody we mentioned because baseball just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand this trading prospects for bona fide stars.
And that's valid. That's definitely valid. Now, why does it make sense to me is part and parcel to what you said. But why it doesn't make sense to me is because it's always all or nothing. Right? It's always very short-sighted in terms of baseball trades. It's, we're not winning our division this year. Let's just, flush it all down the drain, start over. Let's trade everybody. Right? The Tigers were supposed to win this division. All the prognosticators, all of the so-called experts, even myself on this very show predicted the Tigers to win the division. They're not going to win the division this year unless something drastic happens. And so now, because they're not going to win the division this year, they got to trade Terry Skubal. Why? Why do you have to trade him now just because you're not going to win the division this year? Why not keep him and just run it back next year when you have a healthier roster? Part of what derailed the Tigers' season this year is because everybody was injured. Everybody was hurt. And so that impacted the trajectory of their season. So why now, just because you're not going to win the division, you decide to trade everybody and just, we're going to tank the season and get rid of our best pitcher? That wouldn't happen in any other sport, right? The Bears are starting training camp right now this week. If the Bears don't go out and win the division, we're not trading Caleb Williams in the middle of the season, right? That's not going to happen.
Because
But in baseball,
makes
you
no
do.
sense to anything.
Which is why it makes no sense, right? As to why you would make that trade just because you're having a rough season. 1 year, now let's just completely change everything. Because if the Tigers season was going as it was expected to go, they're not entertaining any thoughts of trading away Terry Skubal. They're entertaining thoughts of buying, trying to make additions to their roster instead of making subtractions. So to me, it doesn't make sense from that standpoint. So
you don't trade a guy like Skubal unless you're willing to pay him the $400 million. But teams are going to trade for Skubal knowing they're not going to pay him the $400 million and still give up assets. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. But that's what baseball is.
That's what baseball is, right? Sometimes you're trading for guys for a rental. You don't have any intention of necessarily keeping him long term, right? And it happens all the time. It happens every single year. You make trade acquisitions for a guy who's only going to be in your team for the stretch run of after the trade deadline, the remainder of that season, and the playoffs. And then after the playoffs end, whenever, whether or not you go to the World Series or not, that guy is gone. And you gave away however many prospects and assets that you have for a couple of months of work. Again, that wouldn't happen in any other sport. But in baseball, it happens every year all the time.
I know baseball doesn't have a hard salary tax. They've got a small one, but if you go over it, it's like $250 million, I think. If you go over it, then you get charged 50 cents for every dollar that you spend. Who are Tigers paying? Because I'm thinking it's a salary dump. Because and you know what? Melton, all of a sudden, he doesn't look as good as Skubal, but a pitcher that they don't play, he gets like 7-8 Ks a game. He's looking pretty darn good over there as a prospect coming up for the Tigers. Is it just a salary dump thing? You don't want to pay the best pitcher in baseball because you don't think they'll make the playoffs? Why not? Why don't they ever build around pitchers? And it's not just the Tigers. White Sox do the same thing too. In fact, looking back, I don't remember a team that's built around a pitcher except for Kershaw. And I don't know if he counts because Dodgers get everyone. So I don't know if that counts as building around a pitcher. But why do pitchers not get built around? They will pay $1 billion for Soto, but when it comes to Skubal, when it comes to Sale, when it comes to Crochet, hell, Skeens is going to get let go. Why not build around Skeens? But why don't teams build around pitchers no matter how good they are?
That's a great question. It's a terrific question. Probably not one that I can answer right now because it doesn't make any sense to me. Again, you have elite talent, you have elite arms, pitcher position or not, whether that guy's a starter, whether that guy's a closer. When you find someone that can do the job for you, you should want to keep them long term for as long as possible so they can continue to do the job for you. You wouldn't just get rid of them after one down year like that. It doesn't make sense.
If your name is Mike Trout, they'll keep you no matter what.
Well, that's the case. But again, if the Spurs don't have a good year next season, they're not trading Wemby. Like, and he just signed a contract extension. Like that's
Chicago would love Wemby. Spurs.
Yeah, Chicago would definitely love Wemby. Yeah, trade him to Chicago.
Trade him to Chicago. Full of baseball.
Trade him to Chicago.
Trade him to
you can have everybody you want. You can have anybody you want, and just trade him to Chicago. Maybe except Caleb.
Breaking news: White Sox have tied the game. Murakami home run.
That's what I'm talking about.
Top of the ninth. All we have to do is closers. Close. That is it. Closers. Just let us get to the bottom of the ninth so we can win on a walk-off. That's all we have.
That's what I'm talking about. Way to go, Mooney. About time somebody step up. The back-to-back home runs, I think, tied it up, right? That's what
I think
that's
so.
what I like to see right
And
now.
they got the bottom of the order up. They got McMahon, who's a solid hitter. was the star in Colorado. I don't know what happened there. Caballero and Wells. So they got the bottom of the order up, round up. So if we can get the bottom of the order out, then they see our top. They see our middle of the order. They see Benintendi, Brady Montgomery, and Peters. I'm happy with that. As long as they don't see Mike
Yeah, I'm
Droth,
not mad at it.
And Cuero, who are up after, I'm happy with that middle. For some odd reason, Colton Montgomery got subbed out for Acuna, which is very annoying. But so you know what? They're probably going to see Acuna, Benintendi, and then Montgomery. So they see the middle of the lineup. We see the bottom of their batting order. They see the middle of our batting order, which I'm happy with for the. I'm not either. I'm happy with for the bottom of the ninth. And anyone but my Droth. Anyone but my Droth.
You got beef with him for real,
Because he's never clutch.
I mean, he's not a player that you're expecting to be clutch. Like you know what I'm saying? He's a contact hitter. I'm not expecting contact hitters to necessarily be clutch. It's not really their role. Their job is more so to get on base by any means necessary. Get hit, get a single, get a walk, something like that. Again, that's not really his role. You're the guys whose role it is to be clutch is Murakami, Vargas, Colson Montgomery. Right? Those are the guys who are. It's their job to be clutch, not a chase my draw. I'm not really expecting that from him. But either way, like you said, tie game, new game, we back in. Let's see if the Sox can find a way to pull it out and get the win. But
all right, and
what was you about to say?
I was going to move on to the next segment. I think you closed it. I think you killed it with the last segment. I was going to move on to last on the trade deadline, the bullpen. I was about
to segue right into that because we were talking about prospects. So Vince gonna have to clip all of this out anyway. But we were talking about the prospects or whatever. So I was going to segue right into that in terms of who should be given up because the Sox got a good farm system. It's probably not the best, but I think the Sox farm system is probably rated in the top third of the league right now. There's a lot of good young names that other teams would likely call upon. Again, you're not trading Rochelowski. You just drafted him, so you can't even consider putting him in any trade discussions. It's not allowed. But there's other names, other guys in the Sox system that you could potentially trade and throw into deals. So whether it's a starter, whether it's a reliever, who should be targeted? We just talked about how, teams make these trades for only a month, 2 months in the season, then you got to wave goodbye to those guys. I don't think the White Sox really want rentals. I don't think Chris Getz is really in a place where he's considering a pure rental. I think he's going to try to get guys that he knows he can have locked in for at least another year or two. Because again, there's still a looming lockout next season that may or may not happen. You may or may not have baseball at all next year in 2027. So I think Chris Getz is going to try to acquire pitchers, whether it's starters, relievers, or closers, who are going to be on this roster for more than one season. But if that's the case, that means you got to be willing to give up better prospects. Are there names out there of the guys we already discussed? We discussed Detmers. We discussed Shane Bieber. We know Skubal is not an option.
There's only one name. The name everyone's looking at that I think is more likely going to happen is Mason Miller from the Oakland Athletics. He's their main closer, and he'd be a good option because he's got 3 seasons left. He's the only non-rental outside of Torrens, a catcher. But I don't see why you get Torrens if Kyle Seals coming back. But Mason Miller is who we're looked at to go after. He's the non-catcher that we're going to get.
What are you willing to give up?
He's the closer that we're going to get that would take over our bullpen because he's got a few years left. He's their best closer, which isn't saying much because it is Oakland. But to be fair, the stadium they're playing in now is the shortest stadium in the league. So
what are you willing to give up to get Mason Miller?
Doesn't matter.
Because the rumor has it that the Sox aren't willing to part with any of their top 10 prospects. If that's the case, I don't think you're getting a Mason Miller, if that's the case.
I think we will because I think A's are going to clean house. So when they move to Vegas, they start fresh. And I'm okay with giving up one of the top 10. If Mason Miller's going to be here for at least 3 years, giving up one of the top 10. And Hayes is coming back at left field. Apparently, he's back on assignment. Hayes and Everson Pereira are coming back. So we actually have a lot. We actually have a lot of talent that we can give up, not just in prospects, but starting Sosa. Like you said earlier, Edgar Cuero. I'm okay with giving him up. He has been horrible ever since that amazing game he had versus the Cubs. He's the Cubs killer. That's it.
He's been bad all season. That's really the only good game he's had all
He
season
is.
against the North Side.
Now that the rumors are up, now our bullpen's starting to look like starters. Like, when did this happen? They're not sucking like they did pre-All-Star. Post-All-Star, all of a sudden they're looking great, and it's our rotation that's looking a bit shaky. So, like, when did this flip? What is going on right now? So it's a weird conundrum.
This rotation been questionable all season, and I said about Davis Martin. I called him a de facto ace previously on earlier shows. He has not pitched well since the Sox played in New York against the Yankees. He hasn't performed well. Tonight, he gave up 4 runs in the first inning. So the Yankees crushed whatever was good with Davis Martin, and he ain't been right since. And it's continued again tonight.
I won't go there, but we do overplay him. He was 106 pitches in. He doesn't need to pitch 106 pitches. Put him at like a good 90, 85, and we're good. But yeah, I mean, the only outfielders Hayes can take is Benintendi, Brady Montgomery, and Peters.
Benintendi didn't play the outfield no more. Benintendi is pretty much primarily just a DH at this point.
Sure, but I'm just naming the potential.
He's rarely ever in outfield.
Peters and of course Antonacci, who's not going anywhere. So it's between Peters or we just move Hayes, who we signed, who hasn't played yet. I'm very okay with moving Hayes. I like Peters. He hit for the site playing like the All-Star. But Peters and Hayes would honestly be the only options because they play outfield.
It's going to take more than that. It's going to take more than those names off your roster to get a Mason Miller. You're going to have to dig into that farm system. You're going to have to pluck some names off that farm system to make that happen. And again, the White Sox have an abundance of shortstops to move on from. Right? Again, you got Colson Montgomery on the roster right now as an everyday player and an everyday contributor. Right? Rock Chalowski was your big top tier #1 draft pick in the entire draft as a shortstop.
I think Vargas
plenty of names.
I think Vargas goes before Montgomery. Just Montgomery or Chalowski gets moved to third. Because remember, we got Vargas as a mercenary from the Dodgers. So I don't think he's as much as I like Vargas and I love his improvement. I don't think he has the tier stay, has the love of the city like a Colson Montgomery does.
Peter has the love of the city.
If it's between Murakami, Vargas, and Montgomery, just because we drafted a shortstop doesn't mean he'll stay at shortstop or Colson to stay at shortstop. I think Vargas is the odd man out simply because he was a free agent we picked up. He wasn't a draft. He wasn't drafted here. He's a free agent we took that's having a great season. If Austin Hayes ends up doing the same thing or ended up doing the same thing, as much as I like to pick up, he's still a free agent that we picked up that landed here. He wasn't a guy that was drafted here. So I think that weighs heavy when you're not a guy that was drafted here. But all right, our in closing sentiments, we got about a minute left. Anything you want to say to the audience, JJ3?
I mean, look, go White Sox. I mean, what's the score right now? Is it still tied up?
Still tied up, bottom of the ninth. It's fucking Iowa Cubs just hit a home run to take the lead versus Cardinals. I really hope they'd lose. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. Peters just struck out swinging. My goodness. Guess who's up the bat?
Your boy, Chase Mydrop.
He's up the bat. Down 2 outs. Bottom of the ninth. Game tied up. Mydrop is up to bat. I guess we're going into extra innings on that game. Anyway, that was a great. That's it. That's what you want to conclude on.
I mean, is anybody else on base? That's the question. Is anybody on base?
Nobody on bases. 2 outs. Bottom of the ninth.
Again, you're not relying on Chase Mydrop to be clutched. You don't even have anybody on base unless he's about to hit a 9th inning home run, which I think he's done before actually. But
pinch hitter right now. This is why Hayes needs to be healthy, so he can pinch hit for Mydrop.
Hayes ain't done nothing all year. You're the only one that's been talking about Austin Hayes. I ain't even thought about dude.
Because I wanted to talk about Mydrop. Technically, Brady Montgomery is taking that spot.
Hold up. No, Brady Montgomery has stepped in and performed well this season.
Right. So Brady Montgomery is starting.
final prediction. Who do the White Sox acquire?
Mason Miller, because that's the only need at closer, and you need closers for playoffs. We can bandage everything else. But yeah, no, that's it. That's all I got for Mason Miller. You real quick, just the name. We don't need explanation because I gotta go.
Reed Detmers.
Reed Detmers, great pick. All right, and that is our episode, everybody. Appreciate y'all for coming in and hearing us rants about how stupid Chase might drop this, and how we wish we hope he gets traded. I'm sick of that dude. He's so unclutch. Why is he on this team? All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate you. Say goodbye, JJ3. All right,
We out,
peace
man.
out, guys.
On Spotify, Apple. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with everybody on the block, and hit the notification bell so you never miss none of our daily drops. And to all the guys from the shy, we say 3 things: bear down, fly the W, and sell the team, Jerry.
If they win a title, we shut down the store. Yeah,